And then all of a sudden, he just told my brother to wait. That he wanted to talk to me, or he wanted him and I to do something. And he told my brother to wait outside. And then he took me to the guest room where he was sleeping. And, you know, he closed the door and then he pulled his trousers. And then he asked me to give him a blowjob.
Peace, progress, and prosperity. Always remember, you are not alone.
So first off, I want to say Happy New Year to you if you're seeing this. And a very, very sincere apology to you if you're seeing this also. This is my first video in 2025. Happy New Year once again. Welcome to the new year. And this is my first long video in I think about 6-7 months. I think the last long video I posted was like 6 months ago. And I went on a break. And I'd like to apologize to you for going away for such a long time. Like every other person, I had a couple of things to figure out. I had a couple of things to put in place, and I needed time for myself, to do that. And I'm glad I did take that time. However, once more, my apologies for taking such a long time before coming back to making this long form videos. But I have kept my promise of not shutting everybody out and making short videos ever since. So this is my official welcome back message to you and to everybody who's subscribed on this channel. And if you're not subscribed, if you're seeing my videos for the very first time, please do subscribe, like, share, leave a comment, and that way you get to see my videos again. If you don't do that, this might be the very last time you hear from me. But whatever. Hit subscribe. It's not whatever. Okay, so a lot has happened in the very short time that I've been away. Oh wow, this is 1:50 a.m. So I've done a couple of research. I've looked into various things that affect men and their mental health, and in the course of my research, I found some things that I've never even heard of before. And I'm going to be sharing them on this channel with you. And I hope it's going to be able to help enlighten you and many other men out there. And one of them is something called, apparently, it's actually a sin. I mean, it's not like a new discovery. It's been there all along. But I just never really thought that it was a thing. And it was actually very serious. It's called intergenerational trauma, or multi-generational trauma. If you've never heard that term before, please Google it right now, and you'll find out that it's a very broad umbrella of trauma. And yeah, I posted it the day I found out about it. I posted it on my status, and somebody responded and said, "Oh, this is just another excuse. This is just another way, or this is just another thing for men to use as an excuse for their bad behaviors." And I wanted to write out a longest epistle as a response to that person, but I felt okay. You can't you can't how do I put it? You can't encourage their ignorance by trying to rewire their mindset. So I just let it go. I just let the person be, because I felt it would be a waste of my time. I'm not going to change that person's mindset that day, and I'll just be spitting into the air. So I decided that, okay, forget it, whatever, you'll be fine. So yes, one of the things that we're going to be focusing on this year primarily is healing. And I think the major reason for that is because most of the time, yes, to some extent rather, excuse me, to some extent, that person was correct. Most times, ignorant people use their pain and their trauma as an excuse to act terribly or behave badly. And I feel instead of just talking about the trauma, instead of just saying, oh, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, why not let's, you know, figure out ways forward to get out of it. So this year we're going to be dealing a lot with healing techniques, healing methods. We're going to be talking to people about, how they healed, what helped them heal, and how to, apply those things in your daily life. So please come with me on this journey. And once again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and you know, let's get the message out there. So to start with, last year we went through the basics of trauma generally, and we went through things that could traumatize you, especially as a young person. The focus mainly has been on young people because um for me, I believe that there is still salvation for the young. And I'm not saying the old should be condemned, but my mindset, and if I'm wrong, you can correct me in the comments. But my mindset is that there's still salvation for the young because there's still time. One, there's still the ability to, try and change their mind because their minds might still be flexible to some extent. But you see, the older you get, the less time you have, the less flexible you become, and the more rigid you become in your ways. So mostly the focus has been on young people because yes, I believe there's still time and the young can be saved because if you save the young today, you'll be saving tomorrow. So if I'm wrong, let me know. You don't have to take everything I say as gospel, but yeah, that's where my head is at um on that. So yes, also another thing I've come to find that is very common amongst young men, um young adults and young boys is sexual abuse. And that is a topic that I try to discuss with some of my friends and colleagues and, close acquaintances. And I found out that more like trauma, yeah, it's a form of trauma, but you see, male sexual abuse on its own is a different kind of trauma. It's something that brings about the most shame in any man because they believe that as a man, you should be the one inflicting the damage and the wound. Typically in the society, they believe that men are strong. Men should be the one bringing forth problems. Men should be the one, doing the damage. And when men do that, they say men are damaged, men are bad, men are evil, men are this. So there's that expectation of violence, aggression, and evil from men typically. And then it's shocking. It's very, very surprising when men are the victims of, such acts. Mostly they believe that any man who is a victim of sexual violence is not man enough. Any man who is a victim of rape, sexual abuse, domestic violence, they are not men. They are, just I don't know what to put it. Let me not say something that would insult anybody. But they believe that men are not anyone who has been any man who has been abused sexually is not a man. And it's quite shocking because I feel nobody has the monopoly for evil. Nobody has the monopoly for what's it called? Trouble. Nobody has the monopoly for danger. Nobody has the monopoly for, doing wickedness. And as much as yes, I admit there are crazy men, there are evil men out there, there are people who are dangerous, there are psycho people out there. Yes, the way they are in men is the way they are in women also. I've heard stories of men who were raped and it changed their life in a way that is irreversible. I have friends who told me stories of their sexual abuse, and I don't know if I'm supposed to cry or congratulate them because for some of them it made them a different person in ways that we're going to explore in other videos, and for some of them it made them strong. It made them also a different kind of person in another way. So what I basically found in this regard, especially for men in trauma or in humans generally for trauma, is that once you experience trauma, pain, abuse, any of those things, you either go you either go left or you go right. Now, whichever way you go determines who you become as a person. So when I say go left or go right, go left means you either go towards submission and giving in and acceptance and accepting to be a victim of that circumstance. Or if you go the other way, you can what's it called? You can rebel. You can rebel and become, your own person. You could rebel and become um like your perpetrator. Like you can be like the person who is perpetrating the evil, or you could become something else entirely. Either ways, there's only two sides to it. You either accept and become a victim, or you become a victor. Now, you can become a victor in a good way or a bad way. And you can also become there's no good way to become a victim. Trust me. I've tried to find out if there are good victims. Victimization or victimhood is never a good thing. A victim, it's just like rolling over and accepting your fate. So some of the topics that we're going to be exploring this year is going to be focused on healing from sexual abuse, healing from multi-generational trauma, healing from self-inflicted trauma. There's also self-inflicted trauma. That's another thing I found. Self-inflicted trauma. Self-inflicted trauma is sorry, excuse me. This is a very exciting topic. Self-inflicted trauma is either done knowingly or unknowingly. And some start out slow, some start out fast. I think maybe that'll be the next video. Anyways, self-inflicted trauma, that's another topic we're going to be talking about. And yes, I'd like to say most times the pain or the experiences that we're going through, the reality that we experience is as a matter of or it's as a result of the things that we've done in the past or done to ourselves. And pays to be self-aware, to open your eyes and do some introspection and stop from certain time to time and ask yourself, what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Is what I'm doing, what's the impact of what I'm currently doing? How is it going to affect me in the future? All those crazy questions that people are scared to ask. You need to ask yourself those questions, especially in this year, this 2025. Let this year be your year of forgiveness and healing. And this is the reason. A lot of things won't align if your head is in the wrong space. A lot of things won't go the way you want them to go if your head is in the wrong space. A lot of things will fall out of place if you know you're not properly healed. You're still carrying some burden of guilt or some burden of some sort in your head. It's going to be very, very you know bad in a way. And I'm not trying to prophesy evil. I'm not a prophet, but realistically, these are things that happen if you do not let go of certain things that are holding you down. You can't move forward. It's as simple as that. So you need to let go of trauma. You need to let go of pain. You need to forgive. uh you know that way this year you get some good traction. So I'll touch briefly on multi-generational trauma, male sexual abuse, and self-inflicted trauma briefly, so that this video is not too long and boring for you. um First off, multi-generational trauma. What is multi-generational trauma? Let's go to class. Multi-generational trauma is a trauma that is passed down from one generation to the other. The name is self-implied. From one generation to the other. And this includes stuff like war, mass migration, racism, plague, um, basically anything that you can think of that affects a large group or a community of people, and it's passed down from one generation to the other. I think the closest example we can bring to this in Nigeria or in the current society is the Biafran War. Uh, if you read up the history, if you've read about the Biafran War, you find out that till today, the Igbos are still suffering from some of the fallout of the Biafran War. Let's not go into history as a whole. Let's not go into Nigerian history. But yes, that is a very good example of multi-generational trauma. Another example of multi-generational trauma is something that happened over 400-500 years ago. Slavery. And till today, people we're still suffering. In fact, we're reaping mass implication of slavery all over the world. White people think they're better than black people. Black people over the years, certain some over the years, some black people have grown this. They've cultivated this. What's the English term for this? They've cultivated this attitude of victimhood, and there's a particular word for it. I'm sorry, it's just stuck in my head right now. Uh, inferiority complex. That's the word I'm looking for. That's the phrase. Inferiority complex. They've cultivated this inferiority complex because you know they've been segregated, they've been abused, they've been they've been discriminated racially, and I hear stories of Africans, not African Americans this time, but Africans who travel abroad to Europe, to America, and they still experience racism in its rawest form. They're walking on the streets and people are shouting things at them. People are, I think as a matter of fact, there's an example of racism that I experienced right here in Nigeria. Back in 2021, I was serving in Abuja for a company, and I like to go on runs. So I went on a run one morning, and then I climbed the hill. Anyone who is familiar with Abuja would know that there is a hill, like a small mountain top beside City Gate Abuja. And I climbed that City Gate, because you see runners and sports people and athletes and all those climbing the hill. So I climbed it that day, and there was a few of us at the top and all that stuff. And then this white man came along and he did the craziest thing. And at the time, it did not occur to me that it was actually a racial, slur. But because I would say I was a naive person, and I feel like, you know, in a sense, it was a good gesture. But when I look at it again from his perspective, I think he was being very, very racist. I was standing there watching, power bikes go fast on the express, watching cars go fast on the express, just taking in the fresh air and relaxing. And this man came and he sat down about 100 or 200 yards away. And he greeted me and I greeted him back, joyfully. Hi, hello, hello, you know. And then he brought out a bunch of banana. Yes, is it bunch of banana or bunch of bananas? I don't know. He brought out a banana bunch, whatever. And then he took out one banana. And then he asked if I wanted. And he waved at me and said, you want a banana? And I said, yes. You know, he offered me, as far as I was concerned, he offered me a fruit. And, I tried to move towards him. And then he said, no, no, hold on. And then he threw the banana to me. At the time, it did not seem like anything. I just got the banana and I said, thank you. And I ate it. And when I was leaving, I went towards where he was. And I said, thank you for the banana. And I noticed he did not respond. He didn't say anything. He just had this look on his face. And I was like, oh, cool. And I left. So it wasn't until later that I, started thinking about it again. That what a very odd situation. And I realized that a white man in his head had just thrown an African monkey a banana. And immediately I started cursing him in my mind that, man, F this man, God punish this man for doing such, man. What was he thinking? I'm like, how can people, think like that? And then it also occurred to me that what if he was just, casually as a person offering me a fruit? But we live in a very crazy world. People do things that you can't fathom. And it occurred to me that, yes, that could be a racial slur. That could be something, if he had done that somewhere else, maybe he would have been lynched. But, That's in the past, that's gone. God forgive him, God be with him, whatever. Yeah, so that's an example of multi-generational trauma. You know, white people thinking they're superior to the blacks. And as a matter of fact, if you're a good student of history, you find out that um civilization started from Africa. Let me digress a little. Civilization started from Africa, and human beings came from Africa. And Africa isn't originally called Africa. Africa was named Africa by the Greeks and some would-be colonialists who came down here and decided to form a name for the continent in their own language. And originally, this continent that I'm on, that is known as Africa today, is originally called Al-Kebulan, and it means the mother or the source. So if you look into all of that, it's quite exciting that they are trying to make you forget your history and your past and all that. The continent is originally named Al-Kebulan. Al-Kebulan means the mother or the mother of creation or the source of creation. It basically means the origin. Contextually, it means the origin. That is what the continent means. That is the original name of the continent Africa, Al-Kebulan. And black people came from Africa. And not up until black people migrated outwards towards the colder region of the planet, such as Iceland, Antarctica, the colder places. And, they lost, because there's a science to it, but because they were in the colder regions, they lost more melanin in their skin you know, over the generations and became white. If you look at it in the human anatomy, the only thing that is missing in white people's pigmentation is melanin, and that's why they are white. And I am this color. Typically, I'm not black. I'm brown or bronze or ivory, whatever this color is. I don't know, but you know that's the reason. So now, over the years, over the generations, over the decades, millennia, century rather, these people have felt that they are better than black people, and they have imposed that mindset on everybody. I know you're not better than me. If you're seeing this video and you're white, and maybe you happen to be racist, God forgive you. We're both humans. If you cut us up right now, we're both pink on the inside. We have the same thing on the inside. The only thing that is different is, and that doesn't make you better than me, and that doesn't put you ahead of me. As a matter of fact, I believe as an African that we are the superior race because we were the first. We came here first. We have the most resources. We have the most population. At the moment, we may not have the best society. We may not have the best government. We may not have the best of everything, but we have the best genes. We have the best. We have the best brains. Trust me, we have the best of what really matters. And I don't want to go religious and say, "Oh, this is our God." Let's not go there. But it is what it is. So yeah, let's move on from that. Let's talk about male sexual abuse briefly. I'm going to go further into these topics. I'm going to talk more about these topics in further videos, but let me touch briefly on it so that you know what direction we're going uh in the future. So, male sexual abuse. Last year I made a couple of videos about male sexual abuse, and I got some very mixed reactions. And I think it's a very, very controversial topic. And I think that makes it very, very interesting, and that makes it a very good topic talking point. Male sexual abuse is something that we don't often hear of in the society because female sexual abuse is more rampant. Ironically, male sexual abuse is more rampant than female sexual abuse. But female sexual abuse is more reported and heard of than male sexual abuse because of the trauma and um ego ego killing that is tied to male sexual abuse. You hardly hear of men who have been abused sexually because it kills their ego. It reduces them to nothing in the society based on societal um based on societal judgment and all of that. So yeah, we don't hear much about male sexual abuse. But I tell you, I think it's 6 out of 8 boys. Was it 6 out of 8 boys? There's a statistics to it. We're going to do the research and put it in one of the videos that talks about male sexual abuse. Yes. However, let's assume that 6 out of 10 boys or 7 out of 10 boys are sexually abused before they turn 14. I was also almost sexually abused as a child by a relative of mine. I think he's late now. He's I think he's is he a cousin? Yeah, he's a cousin. He's he's the son of my father's sister. So he's the son of my aunt. So I guess that makes him my cousin. Yeah. His name is Sukomi. He almost sexually abused me. And I'll give you an example. Let me tell you what he did. So they came to I think he was in his teenage or his early 20s back then. I was a kid. I was not even a teenager back then. I was still in my first 10 years. I can't remember the age quite well, but I was in my first 10 years of life. And they usually visit us for holidays, because my dad was the everybody kind of person, especially when it comes to family. So Sukomi was in our house for a couple of weeks, and we were just, playing around the house, him, my brother, and myself, my elder brother, and myself, and we were playing around, messing around, this, that. And then all of a sudden, he just told my brother to wait, that he wanted to talk to me, or he wanted him and I to do something. And he told my brother to wait outside. And then he took me to the guest room where he was sleeping. And, you know, he closed the door and then he pulled his trousers. And then he asked me to give him a blowjob. I knew it was wrong at that time. It felt somehow. I didn't know what it was, but it felt somehow. Why would you, a guy, ask me to put your penis in my mouth and suck it? I just told him no and I ran out of the room. And I don't know if I ran out of the room and then I left the vicinity because I didn't want to be around him. I don't know if he attempted it with my brother. I'm going to ask him, by the way, and find out. Anyways, I told my dad. Later on, I told my dad, and back then I was my dad's favorite child, and I'd never said such a thing. I've never brought up such an accusation. I've never done such a thing. So to him, something must be off somewhere. So he decided to investigate. So we had this poultry that had birds, about 1,000 birds or so that laid eggs back then. So we cleaned the poultry every weekend, and then every end of the month we did a major cleaning and treatment for the birds. So it was one of those weekends, end of the month, that we're doing a major cleaning. Everybody was around. I think my uncle was around, my aunt was around, Sukomi was around. He had a brother, Tubosun. Both of them were the whole poultry was full of people. Everybody was walking, and we didn't take workmen to do the jobs. It was a family thing. My mom, my brother, my sister, anyone who could help was a family thing, more like a communal thing. So we were cleaning out the poultry, and I think Sukomi walked in. I think, knowing my dad very well, um, it's a very nice man, but also crazy. He doesn't joke with his kids. So he said, Sukomi, he called him out and he said, in front of everybody, he said, my son told me that you asked him to give you a blowjob. Is that true? He was saying this in Yoruba. And Sukomi denied it. They're like, no, we never do that. Why would you do that? Of course you denied. There was no evidence. And I was there. I was hearing everything. And I used to be a very quiet kid. He didn't say much. I could have jumped up and said, no, you did it. You said I should do it, and scattered the whole family. But, I kept quiet, just kept doing my chores in the poultry. And my dad said, okay, fine. I don't want to have to ever see you around my kid again. You're still family, but don't ever come close to my kid, not to talk of having the audacity to do such a thing. And that was the end of that. So that was how close I came to being sexually abused as a child. And I was not even 10 yet. I don't know if I was 10. I was not 10 yet. So these are things that happens almost in every home. And if you look at the dynamics, This was somebody who was supposed to be protecting me, who was supposed to be like an elder brother, who was supposed to look out for me, and he was going to do me this great evil. Now, imagine if that has happened. I can't imagine if that had happened to me back then. I can't imagine how it would have affected me or changed me right now. But I'm thankful to God that it didn't. I'm thankful to God that, I'm a straight black man. And yeah, it didn't influence my sexual preference in any way. Yeah. So, anyways, it's experience all the same. So yes, these are things that happen all over. And some people have it worse. Some people have it really worse. Some people were even forcefully raped anally. I've heard cases of guys that were raped anally by family members. I have a friend, if he's open to talking about it, maybe he shared his story with me. He was raped by his uncle, by his father's brother, his father's younger brother. He was raped anally by his father's younger brother. And I'm like, what did you even do to like he's still dealing with some of the implications today. And it has affected him in such a way that I can't even begin to describe. And he could only share that story with me because of my relation with him, because he understands, what it means to talk to somebody and to try and heal. He understands what it means to have somebody, look out for you um when you're traumatized. And yeah, thank you very much for sharing with me. Thank you very much for trusting, me with your story. And I'm sorry if you're seeing this video, I'm sorry if you don't like the fact that I'm sharing your story, but at this point you're anonymous. So yeah, I hope that's good enough for you. And so yeah, he's not been able to till today. His mother doesn't know. Till today, his father doesn't know because number one, that uncle is dead. And they say do not speak ill of the dead. Number one, that uncle is dead. Number two, there's no evidence. He cannot say that, oh yeah. And it happened severally over time, over years, for I think he said 10 years or so. And he can't come forward and say, oh, this is what happened and I need help because nobody's going to believe him. His perpetrator is dead. So he has some form of closure, but he also does not have full closure. And, he's just looking for help. And I'm hoping he finds help. And I'm hoping I can be of help one way or the other. Anyways, there are even weirder stories out there. Trust me, there are weirder stories out there. So male sexual abuse is even more rampant than we know, than we think of, than we hear of. And the reason why men don't come out is because of the damage it does to their ego and their person. However, this, my friend, is an upright tech person in the society. He's doing well for himself. He's doing fine. He's about to get married, and you know, yeah, basically, in some sense, he's doing well, but he still needs help. And this is somebody that you look at and you wouldn't know that such a thing has happened to. And you know, he doesn't bask in it as a victim. He's tried to heal and he's doing well for himself. So yes, like I said, there are weirder stories out there about male sexual abuse, and we're going to go into things that men can do to get past this, sexual abuse of a thing. Now, let's talk about self-inflicted trauma. One of the examples of self-inflicted trauma for men is ignoring the red flags in a relationship and staying in a toxic relationship. So a good example of self-inflicted trauma is staying in a toxic relationship despite seeing the red flags. That one you will not say, now you use your hand to yourself, my brother. So yeah, that's one. And another example of self-inflicted trauma is physically inflicted trauma, uh, out of pain, anxiety, depression, and another form of self-inflicted trauma is also not admitting your mistakes and taking correction when you're wrong. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the things that we're going to be discussing in full length. I'd say for the first 2 months of this year, yes, officially, I'm back to making videos. And I'm not going to make promises I can't keep, but at least there should be one long form video every week, like the old days. So, yeah, there should be one long form video every week. And I want to thank you very much for your patience. And despite the fact that there were no long form videos, there were short videos, I lost subscribers magically. I should be over 1K subscribers by now. But YouTube did juju. I don't know. I just lost subscribers. And then I started gaining subscribers back. Anyways, this is to the 900 and counting subscribers. I want to say thank you very much. And to you that have just joined us, this is the Mental Health Podcast for Men. And the name of the podcast is Brother's Keeper. It's a mental health podcast for men. And I'd like to say thank you very much for watching till this very end. My name remains Onola Fatoba, and I am a